Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. I was looking through my stones today and I was looking at this pretty lapis that I got at the last show. And some of them are kind of teardrop shapes, and it made me think of drops of water. And I started thinking along those lines. And so I think I'm going to make a pendant where it's like a drop of water coming out of a spigot with kind of old-fashioned pipes. So I think it'll be a fun project. I've never done something quite like this before, but we'll see how it turns out. I think it should be fun. All right, well, let's get started. So these are a few of my design idea sketchbooks you can get on my merch store. They usually have some kind of useful silversmithing information on the back. This one, for instance, has a fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters chart, which I use all the time. This one also has a conversion chart. It's gauge to inches to millimeters, which I think a lot of my European and overseas people find useful. And then this one is the one I'm currently filling up right now, and this one's got solder flow temperatures, which I think is useful to know. The real feature for me, though, is, it's got this dot matrix in the background here, and that helps me to draw better pictures, because picture drawing is not my strongest suit, as you may have noticed in the past. However, I find it useful to have a record of what I've made in the past, and I think you might too. So if you're interested, check out and get a couple of these on my merch store. I think they're useful ways to keep track of your projects. So I started off, I was brainstorming. I had a little bit wider lapis, and I was going to do just a little simple kind of spigot with the lapis coming out of it. Then I thought, those old-fashioned kind of galvanized steel pipes or cast iron pipes kind of have these things on the corners, and I thought that might be kind of cool to do, to give it kind of a look like that. Put a little spigot up here, put a hidden bail behind it. This is going to be, let's see, that's an 11 by 12 lapis. I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty. I got this card of lapis at the last show that had a whole bunch of these, and they're all very, earth from outer space kind of looking, which I really like. It's got some white in it and stuff. But I think that'll make a great drip from a faucet. So this is 6 gauge half round, which is 4.6? 4.1 millimeters wide, and most of these are going to be 14 gauge square wire, which is 1.6 millimeters, but I flattened it, so it's just going to create kind of a rim around there. We're going to make this out of one single piece and just cut some sharp bends into it. I'm going to try and texture it in some way, and I may do something with the little spigot knob, except I've already cut a little piece for it out of some thick sheet, and I don't know, we'll see how much energy I have at the end of the evening when I'm getting to that stage. But first we'll need to make a bezel for this stone, so let's do that first. For the bezel, I'm going to use 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip. That's 4.76 millimeters tall. It's going to be 26 gauge, which is 0.41 millimeters. So let me grab some of that stuff and we'll get started. Okay, whenever you have a stone that has a sharp end on it like this, you don't want to put the end of the where the bezel solders together right on the tip. That almost always causes some issues. So let's start by flattening this out and filing it. So we'll start somewhere over on the side here, but I'm going to make a sharp bend then. Get that as snug as we can. We'll make a little mark slightly beyond where they meet. Just a skosh though, not much. Set him off to the side for a moment. You can use your miter vise jig if you have one of those. If you're interested in my soldering and torch setup, here's some information about that. Normally I make these into kind of a rectangle shape, Just makes it easier to solder, but this time I'm going to just kind of preserve that sharp corner, make whatever shape it allows me to. That's close enough to get a decent solder joint, probably. Give this a little quick shape. I'm just going to use some 26 gauge sheet for the bottom. 0.41 millimeters. I live in an old house, so some of the old piping kind of looks like the sort of pipes we're going to make here. That looks pretty decent. So don't forget to like the video if you're enjoying what I'm doing here. YouTube's algorithm has kind of shorted me lately. I've got kind of lower views and I haven't really changed anything, so anything you can do to, if you're enjoying it, hype the video or like it or share it with someone else, that really helps out a lot. I do appreciate that kind of stuff. So. But only like it if you like it. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's find a little 26 gauge sheet. I'll probably get it right off there. I'm not going to have any sticking out from this, so I don't need a lot of extra. I'm fighting a bit of a neck headache today, so meaning a headache that started in the back of my neck. So if I do anything sort of dumb, it's because my head hurts. Dumber than usual. I did a little request project for my patrons yesterday, which was a pendant that had a track going all the way around it with a bail that could move along the track. And that was a good fun experiment. Kind of hard to get the tolerances, just right. That looks pretty good. Okay, let's solder that down. A lot of times I have them vote on particular projects. This one was a specific request by someone, so I thought it sounded like a fun thing to try. It was. Okay, we'll get this fluxed and get some solder on the inside, and then we'll just get that to flow. That is supposing I can pick any solder up tonight. That's likely enough. Let's kind of push it up against the sides. Get that to go all the way around. And I'm just going to trim this off once it's cool, and then we'll make the pipe part. You can saw this off if you're more inclined to saw. If you're new to my channel, I started kind of right around the beginning of the year. I started doing on Tuesdays a quick tip kind of video where it has some kind of basic shortcut or something that makes things easier, or just something about which tool works better or whatever. And I've got about 12 of them so far. So there's a playlist for quick tips if you're interested in seeing it. Check out my playlist tab. That'll take you right there. I'll put a link up there for you. I think it's useful if you're a beginner maybe. Or even if you're more advanced, you might learn a trick or a shortcut. I certainly learn them from a lot of people. So, okay, so we got our bezel made. It'll be like that. And I got a head start on this here. I'm using, like I said, I'm using 6 gauge. And here's what I've been doing. I wanted to get a head start, not only to make sure that I could do it, but also that it would take a little less time on the video. So I'm going to try and get that to where it solders kind of in there securely. I'll try to get that really 90 degrees if I can. But what I'm doing is I'm making a mark where it needs to bend, and then I'm cutting a V shape, kind of not quite 45 degrees. I probably could do a 45 degrees about halfway through, and that would do it, but using my jeweler's saw. So that'll be our next step, is let's go cut this next one. And when I'm done, and I get it bent exactly how I want it, I'm going to solder in each of these corners to make sure we have a complete, have that soldered back closed, and it'll be kind of permanently in that shape. Then we can add these things, I think. So let's go over to the sawing area, shall we? I'm using a 00 for this. Just try and get it kind of see, we've got a little notch in there now. So we'll bend that to make a pretty 90-degree angle, hopefully. Okay, let's see if we can bend this here. I might use my nylon jug pliers just to... I may have to cut a little deeper on this one up here in the spigot, but it's kind of in the range where I want it to be. So I think I'm going to cut this off about right here so it's less awkward. And I think that should give us enough to do that. And then I might go ahead and solder this one, and this one. Just to make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to. If you bend those back and forth too much, you can break them once they're cut. So I have some solder over here I can pick up with my soldering pick, which is just titanium little piece of metal. Let's get everything kind of you just pick up a little ball of solder on the pick. With silver, you always have to heat the entire piece in order to get a good solder joint generally. I jumped the gun a little bit there. There we go. Now let's figure out where the next one's going to go. I want it to be above here, so I'm probably going to, I may change it slightly in proportion here. So oops. You could do something fun with lots of, convoluted pipe shapes. I bet that would be cool. Very Super Mario Brothers. Okay, I'm going to go saw that one out, and then we'll solder that one too. Okay, let's solder that one. I think it should go just a little bit to this side because this is offset a little bit that way. I don't know. We'll play it by ear. It'll either be cool or it won't be cool. And we'll just have to live with it. Okay, I'm going to saw that one out and I'll be right back. I was going to have these touching on the top and bottom, but maybe I should just have it on the bottom. Soldered to the bottom piece so it has a gap between there. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to clean this up with a rubber silicone white wheel on the Dremel, and then we'll make some little half-round kind of pieces of that. I said I had some skinny. That's not even the right stuff, I don't think. This is. I think this is 14 gauge that's been flattened out, or 16 gauge. I'm not sure. I had a little piece here, so let me see. So we'll use a little bit of 14 gauge that's been flattened to make the little barriers. But I think I might need to texture this first. So let me get this cleaned up and then we'll make some decisions. This is called a magnesia block. It's a softer surface. And what I've done is I've taken some little, a little bit of this 14 gauge square wire that's flattened, and I've made kind of like a little kind of staple shape that's rounded on top, and I put 2 of those in there, and I'll probably do, should we do one more for this go round? I was going to gradually add these on, so we'll do maybe the first 3 and then we'll add some more. There's going to be one up here too, and then we'll hook a spigot up there as well, I think. I decided not to do the texture yet because honestly the joining corner things need to be a little bit wider than the inner pipes, so I'm going to file these inner pipes between the joins slightly skinnier, at least profile wise, so you can tell that there's a distinction. I think that'll make it look more realistic, so let's give that a try. I don't need quite as big a pieces of solder for this probably. So. These magnesia blocks are useful but crumbly, so they break down pretty quickly. You can also use a soft, like Cool Tools kiln block if you want. Those are a little bit fibrous, so things kind of bounce a little bit out. Push them in. Alright, let's do those next three. Okay, I got these four now. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last one is going to be that wider one where the spigot's going to be attached. So this started life as 12 gauge square. It'll be pretty much the same thing, but it'll just have a slightly wider profile. I need a little bit more on this one here. I'm going to go ahead and snip off a lot of these on the bottom. I'm going to spend a few minutes getting all these filed down so they're flush. So I did a little bit of cleanup on the pipes, and Um, I took some sandpaper and kind of abraded it. We'll see. I'm going to let this pickle after we put a bail on it and get this all attached. And then I'll see what it looks like, and if I feel like I need to, after I polish it, I'll reapply some sandpaper to get some kind of coarse looking pipeline to make it look not so much like silver but like steel maybe. I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so let's see if we can solder this on. I got a little bit of solder here. Always got to be a troublemaker in the solder pile. Let's cool that off and we'll see how strong that feels. If it's not very strong, I may run a little bit of some of that flattened square behind the spigot just to give a little reinforcement. Just for giggles. Let's put a hidden bail on here, and then I think I'll make that out of some of this, that wider stuff maybe. And find the rest of that. Maybe we mount it just kind of like right there. That'd be pretty nice. Let's give that a try. Let's push it down into the magnesia block so nothing moves on us. So I'm going to go ahead and let that pickle for a while, maybe have a little dinner, and come back and finish that. I realized I forgot to put the little knob on to turn the water on, so I made a little knob. I cut this a half a circle out of this little bit of, it's probably about 16 gauge sheet that I rolled out from some scrap, and then I filed some notches in it to make it look like a little handle kind of, and I added a piece of 16 gauge around on the back that I balled up. Soldered it together. So I'm going to cut this pretty short, I think. And I think that'll work now. Get a little solder there. I think we got a good connection there. It's not as delicate as I would have liked, but that's because I didn't have enough room to squeeze that handle in there. So, all right, I'll be back in a few. Okay, just about finished. I decided not to retexture these for the moment. I haven't decided whether I like them kind of shiny pipes or not, but let's set the stone. With a pointy stone like this, I usually file the bezel just a little bit thinner at the tip, and then I do this a little differently than some. I use the flat side of my chain nose pliers as a bezel pusher. So I'm going to use that to get this laying up against that stone. Kind of like it. Burnish this a little bit. I need to repolish these. That's good. It's getting a little rough. That's kind of what I had in mind when I was thinking about this. So pretty close to what we were doing. The only thing I really changed was I didn't attach that there. I attached it down there only, so it has a little, like a drop coming out of the faucet. I'll get that finished up and get some pictures. Tell me what you think. Tell me whether you think I should, like, one, texture the pipes a little bit to make them look beat up. Two, should I oxidize them then so they look a little bit, you know, pick up some of the details? And what might you have done differently, or what would you suggest for future similar things? I really like the pipe look. I'm thinking at some point I might do a bracelet like that. I'm not sure, a bangle or a cuff maybe. But I'll get that finished up and see you on the next one. All right, well, that was the pipe with a dripping lapis coming out of it. I hope you enjoyed that pendant. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go, and I'd really appreciate it if you go visit my main channel page. Check out some of the other videos I have. I have over 600 videos now. I've been doing this for about 4 years at 3 videos per week, and that has accumulated quite a bit of video footage of various projects and different skills and things like that. So I think there's almost certainly something useful or interesting you'll find over there. So check it out. I would also love it if you would share this channel with others and maybe subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything to do that, and you get notifications if you sign up for that for when I put out a new video, which is typically Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I wanted to thank some people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. They have created this lovely environment over there in addition to helping me financially, and I really love it over there. So thank you for doing that. You guys are awesome. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 27,500, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I really love the nice comments I get from you guys. I appreciate suggestions for videos. I appreciate when you share my channel with other people. I appreciate you telling me your stories, the different ways that you do things. I love learning new things from you guys, so I appreciate all of your input. I also appreciate the little purchases like the Buy Me a Coffees, the Super Thanks, and the people who buy merch on my store or my ebooks. All of that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I couldn't do it without your help, so thank you for that. Finally, visit the video description down below. There's some important links there. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about the various levels of that community and the perks that go along with it. It's a nice place, like I said, and you might want to check it out. There's a link to my ebook, which is the latest one is 2025's tutorial video. It has a page for each of the videos I did during 2025, including a picture of the sketch I drew first, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials, stone information if there's a stone in it, a difficulty rating that's maybe a little bit subjective on my part, and some notes I made about it, including some things I might have learned from the project, how I might do it differently if I was to repeat it, whether I like the outcome or not, and why. So it's a great way to have a ton of projects right at your fingertips and a nice way to support my channel. You can even get the last 3 years ebooks for a discount. I think it's $15 off if you buy all 3 at once. So check that out. It's a great resource. Finally, you can get to my merch store if you just want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks or some other merch that's metalsmithing related. But either way, thanks for coming today. I appreciate you watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.